The Supreme Court is often seen as a battleground of ideology, where justices with different philosophies and backgrounds debate the most pressing legal questions of our time. With split decisions reflecting the nation's divisions, the court can sometimes appear as polarized as the country it serves. But sometimes, the court speaks with a single unified voice, a 9-0 decision that cuts through the noise and disagreement. These rare unanimous rulings send a powerful message. Some legal principles are so fundamental, so deeply rooted in our Constitution, that they transcend politics and personal beliefs. When all 9 justices agree, it signals that the issue at hand is about core constitutional values, not just partisan debate or temporary trends. Such decisions set strong, lasting precedents, guiding not only lower courts, but also lawmakers, government officials, and the public for years to come. Recently, 2 unanimous decisions have reinforced the First Amendment's protections for both speech and religion, reminding us of the enduring strength of these freedoms. The First Amendment guarantees Americans the right to speak freely, to express their beliefs, and to practice their faith without government interference or intimidation. The first case, NRA versus Vullo, addressed whether government officials can use their power to silence voices they dislike, even indirectly, by pressuring private companies to cut ties with controversial groups. The second, Catholic Charities Bureau versus Wisconsin, asked a crucial question. Who decides what counts as religious work? The government or religious groups themselves, who best understand their own missions? Both cases drew a clear line against government overreach, making it clear that constitutional rights cannot be undermined by creative or indirect tactics. These rulings defend liberty at a time of intense public debate, when questions about free speech and religious freedom are more relevant than ever. They remind us that the government cannot use indirect tactics to censor speech or redefine religious identity, no matter how controversial the group or belief may be. Let's explore how these decisions, in rare unanimity, have fortified the freedoms at the heart of American life, and why such unity matters for the future of our democracy. NRA Vullo, decided in 2024, asked, can a government official pressure private companies to cut ties with a controversial group? The NRA accused New York's Maria Vullo of using her regulatory power to coerce banks and insurers into dropping the NRA after the Parkland shooting. The Supreme Court unanimously agreed, if true, these actions would violate the First Amendment. The justices made clear, government officials cannot threaten or coerce private parties to punish or suppress speech. This ruling protects against both direct censorship and indirect government pressure. The message government power cannot be weaponized to silence any group, no matter how unpopular. The Vullo precedent quickly became relevant, setting the stage for a new era in the debate over free speech and government influence. In the heated politics of 2025, where every word and broadcast is scrutinized, the boundaries of free expression are constantly tested. After critical segments aired on Jimmy Kimmel Live, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr suggested broadcasters' licenses could be reviewed based on content, a move critics saw as coercive, blurring the line between regulation and censorship. The FCC's immense power means even a hint of regulatory threat can chill free expression, making networks and journalists second-guess what they put on air. Soon after, major broadcasters stopped airing the show, raising urgent questions about whether government pressure was at play and if the public was losing access to dissenting voices. Critics argue this is exactly the kind of indirect censorship the Supreme Court warned against, where fear of reprisal leads to self-censorship, even without explicit bans. The Vullo decision now gives media companies and individuals a clear legal tool to challenge such overreach, empowering them to defend their rights in court. The government cannot use its licensing power to control speech, no matter how subtle or indirect the attempt may be. The fight to protect free speech from indirect government pressure is ongoing, but the court's unanimous voice is now central, reminding us that vigilance is essential to keep the First Amendment alive. In another unanimous decision, the Supreme Court reinforced religious liberty in Catholic Charities Bureau versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin tried to deny Catholic Charities a tax exemption, arguing its charitable work wasn't religious enough. The court rejected this, ruling that government cannot impose its own definition of religious work or penalize faith groups for serving the broader community. Faith groups have the right to define their own missions. Serving others is often a core part of religious identity. The decision ensures government can't separate acts of charity from religious expression. The Catholic Charities decision immediately protected thousands of faith-based organizations nationwide. Now, groups serving the public, regardless of faith, can't be denied legal protections because their work is too charitable. Exemptions like those for unemployment tax help charities direct more resources to their missions. The ruling prevents government from forcing religious groups to choose between serving the public and maintaining their faith identity. It strengthens civil society, ensuring faith-based groups can continue vital work without fear of government interference. This is a victory for both religious organizations and the millions who rely on their services. Despite the Supreme Court's clear and decisive ruling, Wisconsin officials have refused to comply, setting the stage for a new and unprecedented legal showdown. Instead of granting Catholic charities its rightful exemption, the state is now moving aggressively to eliminate the religious exemption for all faith groups, escalating the conflict far beyond the original case. This sweeping legal retaliation threatens the very existence of every religious organization in Wisconsin, from small neighborhood churches and synagogues to faith-based schools and community centers, putting their missions and freedoms at risk. Beckett, the law firm representing Catholic charities, has condemned the state's actions, calling them a flagrant act of defiance and a direct affront to religious liberty. The state's move could ignite a series of new legal battles, forcing faith groups to once again defend rights that the Supreme Court just affirmed, and potentially drawing in national attention and resources. This is not just a local dispute, it's a direct challenge to the authority of the nation's highest court, raising questions about the balance of power between state and federal law. The outcome will test whether a single state can undermine a unanimous Supreme Court decision through legislative and judicial resistance, and whether the rule of law can withstand such open defiance. As the nation watches closely, the stakes could not be higher. The coming months will reveal whether the rule of law will truly prevail, or if precedent can be ignored by those in power. The unanimous decisions in NRA versus VULO and Catholic Charities Bureau versus Wisconsin are more than legal victories. They reaffirm the First Amendment's promise of freedom for all Americans. In a polarized era, the court's unity gives these rulings exceptional authority. VULO shields against modern censorship, ensuring government can't silence voices through regulatory threats. Catholic Charities protects the right of faith groups to define their own missions and serve the public as an expression of belief. These decisions fortify the foundations of a free, pluralistic society. The Supreme Court's message is clear: government cannot use indirect pressure to censor or redefine religious identity. By standing together, the justices remind us that free speech and religious liberty are the birthright of every American.